Have you
Yes.
ever said yes
No.
to something, even though every part of you wanted to say a no? Like
Can you
agreeing
help
to
me
help
with something?
someone when you were exhausted, or giving in to a request because you didn't want to look rude,
Can you help me with
or
something?
staying silent just to avoid conflict? If you've ever wondered why people agree against their will, you're about to discover the dark psychology behind it, and how others use these triggers to control decisions, influence behavior, and shape outcomes without you even realizing it. Because people don't say yes out of obedience. They say yes out of psychological pressure. In this video, we're going to break down why people say yes when they actually want to say no, the hidden psychological tactics behind manipulation, the emotional buttons people push, and most importantly, how to recognize these patterns before you fall into them. Let's start with one of the biggest reasons. Reason number 1, the fear of social rejection. Humans are wired to seek acceptance. Since ancient times, being rejected from the group meant danger. So our brains evolved to avoid conflict, discomfort, and confrontation. That same instinct exists today. So when someone asks, "Hey, can you do this for me real quick? Can you take care of this shift? Can you help me out just this once?" Most people don't evaluate the request logically. They think, if I say no, they might get upset. They'll think I'm selfish. I don't want to look like the bad person. So instead of protecting their boundaries, they sacrifice themselves to protect their social image. Dark psychology exploiters know this. They use phrases like, "Come on, don't be like that. Everyone else is okay with it. I thought you were a supportive friend." They don't force you to say yes. They guilt you until your own conscience becomes the weapon. Reason number 2, authority and power pressure. People are more likely to obey when the request comes from a boss, parent, an older relative, a respected figure, or someone who acts dominant. Even if the request feels uncomfortable, authority creates psychological pressure. This phenomenon was famously demonstrated. In the Milgram obedience experiments, participants obeyed instructions, even when they believed they were harming someone, simply because an authority figure told them to continue. Why? Because our brains associate authority with safety, leadership, and responsibility. So saying no feels like rebellion, even when we're protecting our own well-being. In real life, this sounds like, "I'm your manager. I need you to handle this. As your elder, I'm telling you what's right. This is for your own good." The tactic is subtle, but extremely powerful. Reason number 3, the reciprocity trap. Humans are conditioned to return favors. When someone does something for you, you naturally feel obligated to give something back. Manipulators exploit this by giving fake help, offering unnecessary favors, or acting generous upfront. Then later they say, after everything I've done for you, this is the least you could do in return. You owe me this." And suddenly, your refusal doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels like betrayal. This tactic is common in business deals, friendships, toxic relationships, and social manipulation. The favor wasn't kindness. It was an investment in future control. Reason number 4, the need to avoid conflict. Some people don't fear rejection. They fear confrontation. They avoid disagreements, arguments, and uncomfortable tension, so they agree simply to keep the peace. They think, it's easier to just do it. I don't want drama. I'll just handle it instead of arguing. But over time, this turns into a silent emotional burden. They become overworked, drained, resentful, and emotionally exhausted. Because every time they say yes unwillingly, they are quietly saying no to themselves. Dark psychology thrives in silence. Because manipulators target people who don't speak up, don't challenge behavior, and don't enforce boundaries. If you never push back, people learn they can push you. Reason number 5, social conditioning and politeness training. From childhood, many people are taught, be nice, be respectful, don't disappoint others. Good people always help. While kindness is powerful, blind compliance is dangerous. Some people equate niceness with obedience. They think, if I say no, I'm a bad person. So they over-apologize, over-explain, overcommit, and lose control of their time, energy, and identity. Manipulators recognize these traits instantly. They know. Kind people feel guilty. Empathetic people blame themselves. Polite people avoid confrontation. So they target them first. Not because they're weak, but because they're compassionate. Reason number 6, emotional manipulation and pressure framing. Sometimes people don't say yes to the request. They say yes to the emotional trap wrapped around it. Examples. If you really cared about me, you'd do this. I guess I just can't rely on you like I thought. I didn't expect you to let me down like this. Notice the pattern? The request is no longer about the task. It becomes a test of loyalty, love, trust, commitment. This is one of the darkest persuasion tactics, because it attacks your identity, not your decision. You don't agree out of willingness. You agree out of fear of being judged. So why do people say yes, even when they don't want to? Because psychological pressure often feels stronger than personal desire. Humans are influenced by fear of rejection, authority pressure, social expectations, guilt and obligation, conflict avoidance, and emotional manipulation. None of these feel like force. They feel like responsibility. And that's what makes them powerful. How to break the pattern. You don't need to become harsh. You need to become clear. Here are simple boundary phrases. I'm not able to help with that. That doesn't work for me. I understand, but I'm going to pass. I don't have the capacity for this right now. No explanations. No apologies. No guilt. Because every time you say no to something unwanted, you're actually saying yes to your time, your energy, your mental peace, your self-respect. And that is not selfish. That is emotional self-defense.